G'day and welcome back to my channel. Well, the Airfix Bristol Bulldog, look, it is finished. Yep, look at that. It's all done. Well, there's still a rubber band back there kind of hiding, and there's a few little parts that sort of are not on there. But that dreaded motor is done. The struts went on, they were actually quite easy. The wheels went on, they were quite easy. A whole lot of other things were quite easy. And my pilot was as happy as I. It's a brand new 3D printed pilot, but I will talk about that later. Tell you what we really want to do is get on with this video, and I can show you that I actually started enjoying this build. Well, I did until we got to the motor. Alright, all that and lots more to come. Roll the music. In the last few videos, that's as far as I got, both with the complete cradle interior, as a pick, and my cut down interior, which is kind of all you need because that's all that gets seen. But anyhow, the choice is yours, whatever you want to build. Put on this a little bit, put on that a little bit, sort of did all these sort of dry fits and everything down here. But I didn't do this. And this is to do with some holes that require drilling here. 1mm holes. And you can do, that one's compulsory, but this one's got a little question mark, which is wonderful. This is where Airfix used to be so terrific, is they would always give you options. And they do in this kit. But they don't give you options for that interior, which is annoying. But I've said my piece on that. Now those holes in the wings are to do with these four sections here. So there's a little widget here, which you glue in, which I think is the airspeed checkerer, right? Whatever that's called. Because it has a little prop that goes on it. This one they clearly say is the DP generator. So I don't know what that is. It's not a DC, it's not direct current, so it makes D's and P's. I don't know, somebody tell me what a friggin' DP is. Okay, so that also has a prop. So there's no need to put that one on if you don't want to, but this one does go on and it is required. So I've got the parts and they can be seen, which are two of my criteria here. I'll drill the holes for both. Got those little guys on there now. I haven't put the props on because I will knock them off. They're just on there so they're glued in place of painting. And look, half my fuselage is missing. And got the motor in there to dry fit, so that still removes. Everything would be that I would have left as a dry fit, but after the last video I kept wobbling around everywhere, so I've glued it in, and I did add a little of the frame, but that's okay. Now what I want to show you is in that seat, well, I 3D printed a really nice pilot. This was from a file that Becca gave me. He's from a Spitfire. He's lovely. And a lot of people are worried about what this big thing is here between his legs, because we know pilots are very virile, but I assure you this is simply a piece of, these are called supports, and you just flick them off, right? You cut them off. Now, his, of course, is a little bit too big. He's 1/24th scale, and we're going to have a lot of trouble trying to squeeze him into here. I'll keep him for one of my Spitfires. But I shrunk him down and I managed to print him in 1/48 scale. Alright, so there you go. And I've got a test print here that I can show you quickly. He is going to fit really nicely in there, even better than the blobby Airfix pilot that we had previously. There you go. He fits in there absolutely spot on at the correct depth and height. Right, so he's only just sitting with his shoulders just on there. So that is pretty darn good. I'm very happy with that. So alright, let's get on with the rest of the build. So moving on, we can go to steps 37, 38, which are struts, and there'll be more struts here if we go to 42, 43, and that's basically all our struts. Now, The best idea is get all of this out of the way first before you start gluing struts. Don't glue some struts, then do a whole lot of stuff, glue some other struts and try and fit it, because that invariably doesn't work, because things can go all kind of bendy and out of shape. I mean, I'm hoping this kit, it fits fairly well and angles are generally pretty good, but still, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. So my method is do everything you can, add all the things you want to the wings that you're going to require for now, and then start gluing struts. And then when they're still in a semi-glued state, a little bit of wobbliness, right? That is the point that you'll get this happening. And Airfix is good. They show you my trick that I always do, which is I do it upside down. I put the top wing on the cutting board, right? And then with everything glued into the bottom wing of the fuselage, I drop it down and let gravity help push the strut ends into the wing. I've left those wings to dry overnight, so they are all dried up now. I can take off the rubber bands. Now, one of the complaints that I've heard from some people is the thickness. Now, the leading edge is fine, that's good, that's going to require virtually no putty. Basically, I'll just give it a sand, it'll be fine. The trailing edge though, yeah, they're a little chunky on the edge, but the thickness of the wings, that is correct. Airfix has got that absolutely spot on. I've got a photo here, right? You can see how thick the wings are. They really are, you know, big, wide, thick sort of aerofoils. Okay, so quite thick. But yeah, the trailing edges, not the best. Now, I know when you're moulding, if you mould really fine trailing edges, as happens for wing-nut wings and rodent kits, you will get flash. You do. It's just how it is. You get a little bit of flash. That's okay. You cut it off. You'll put up with that tiny bit of flash because you're going to get a very knife-edge, thin trailing edge. Now, maybe because of Airfix's past history with flash, they've gone for the no-flash version, which means, yep, they got to be thick. So your only alternative there is sand them, and you probably could give them a bit of a sand underneath. You don't want to wreck the top sort of ribbing, but you probably could get away with a little bit of sanding here if you want a thin edge. Personally, I'm not too worried. I might just give it a gentle, well, I'm going to clean all this up anyway. But they fit together well and they're fine. Now, struts, you say, oh, you've done them, Harry. Nope, nope, nope. They're just dry fit. Now, this is the thing that you want to do when you're putting in struts, because they're going into two different sets of slots, right? There's a slot below, a slot below. You don't want to get them mixed up. You want to know which one goes where, okay? Airfix has been very clever in this, in that most of the time they've got wide slots and narrow slots and double slots and single slots, and it all fits together well. You cannot make a mistake. But when we get to these guys, they're kind of all a bit the same, although it's a slightly different profile at the bottom to the top. And you can kind of figure it out. You just got to follow the bouncing ball. But there's some unusual stuff here again from Airfix. These sprue points, really weird. So it's not against the end, sort of. Well, it is. It's against the end there, but it goes around. They will cut off, sort of. So now you've got some stuff to trim. As you can see, I've left that one on so you can sort of see. It's on the joining part, so that's good. So that means you can cut that clean. Doesn't matter if you dig in a bit, that'll be hidden inside the model. So I suppose there's some logic to it. All right, let me clean those up and then we'll do the dry fit. All right, now this one is B5, which if we look at our instructions, which you can't see, that is the rear one on the starboard wing. So to nut this out, we have to try to figure out which end goes where, because they look very similar, okay? So that one kind of looks a bit bigger and it could go in the bottom here. So let's see if we can do that without everything falling out. Yes. Okay, that fits right. and that seems to be correct. Okay, go to the other one. Well, that's not going to be right at all. It's pointing out the wrong way. So that's definitely, you can't get it wrong. So that has to be wide side there, like that. Yep, so that's definitely correct. Okay, so taking that out and remembering that's the thick side, and here's our wing, flipping it over and going to the back one, that has to go into there. And mine's not fitting very well. So this is why you dry fit. Have a look. There must be a tiny bit of plastic somewhere there, probably with that join, and it's just annoying the thing. Okay, so again, that's how it's going in there. Well, that definitely fits. Now we have that worked out, that one should fit in there. Yes. And this is the thing, check all of these, because nothing worse than you go to put the struts on and you've got maybe the bottom part glued in, not the top, and everything's upside down and stuff everywhere and it won't fit, and you're pushing and shoving and you'll wreck the whole thing. All your joints must fit easily. And once you know that and you're armed with that information, that's when you start gluing. With those struts setting into place, not glued into the top wing, I'll explain why later, but glued into the bottom wing and the fuselage. Let's make this little piece here, which should be fairly easy. It is the cradle for the wheels, and we'll make up the wheels as well, get all that ready. But again, I'm only going to glue some things, I won't glue others. And I'll explain why in a sec. Trick I know to make sure that the wheels will be level with the wing, with everything, right? We assume the bottom wing is level to start with because I went to great pains to make sure it was, and it's also the same level as the tailplane, right? So all you've got to do here is measure, right? And I've got 16 millimeters on that side, and on this side 16 millimeters. Therefore my wing is level, and that is level, because obviously the ground's level and they're level. Everything's level. Neat trick, isn't it? Okay, I won't glue on the wheels obviously for now because I'm going to paint them later. Moving on to steps 33. Well, I've already done some of these. This was last time, putting together the motor, which seemed really easy. That just didn't seem to be quite difficult, but I really had a lot of problems. Just building that just annoyed me. But anyhow, go back and watch that, find out why. It's just, there's some annoying things about this kit. Anyhow, piston heads, right, with little vanes on. That's what is next. Now, again, this doesn't look hard, but I keep saying that. It doesn't look hard, then it turns out to have all these hidden traps. But anyhow, these look rather clever in that you make them up, and there's two specific for down the bottom here, right, both the starboard and the port one. And I'm glad Airfix doesn't say left and right. I'm glad they're using the correct terminology, starboard and port, otherwise you really get mixed up. Because left and right in ships and aeroplanes has no meaning, because they can go in all kinds of different directions and be upside down, and you know, yeah, ships generally upside down is not a good idea though. But anyhow, we're going to make these guys up, and then they kind of click in. And I'm hoping, because my whole motor assembly, although it is assembled and glued, I only have it click-inable to the fuselage. Again, don't glue. Reasons for that later. So let's make all these up, see how we go, and we might be able to even get as far as down here, where we'll put the manifolds on and the cowling, and see how that all looks. So here we are on sprue E, and I've already made a few of these tiny little cylinder heads. Oh my goodness. Yeah, just when you think they couldn't have made anything more fiddly. Anyhow, let me go through the process. sprue joint here is right on the top here of this top part of the cylinder, which everybody's going to see. I mean, if you could find a worse place to put the sprue point, no, that's it, right there. So every single one of these 9 little cylinders has a complex 3-way curve that you're going to need to trim and clean up. And I mean, usually I don't mind doing stuff with Airfix, but this was just annoying because you didn't have to do that, Airfix. It could have been so good. Now, trying to get these fun little guys together, the only way I seem to be able to do it is to try and hold it without it pinging off to the carbon monster. Because it's just, with my big fat fingers, I can't do this. This is another annoying thing that I don't see why we have to have this in so many bits. But anyhow, we'll persevere. So that then goes into there, and if you're lucky it'll go in the hole. Then I can take it out after it's located. And the problem thing is to get it, can it see if you focus? You've got to get that to a circle. That's the most important part. The pin is down the bottom here. Terrific, cylinder head. But if this is not a perfect sort of circular shape, well, that part is not going to fit over the all the sticky out bits on the motor. So again, vagueness going to perfectness. That doesn't work, Airfix. Well, I persevered and I made all the engine cylinders, and I thought maybe it'd be good. I could just pop them in here with this off and then put it in, but you can't because those little things taper in, so you can't. Your cylinder is big and round and it can't get through that tiny gap. It can only go in there. I have managed to put the cylinders into the motor and then take them out again because I need the whole thing separate for painting, because otherwise you have to paint everything to put it together. So anyhow, we are forced to put this in and then add cylinders. So that center line there is your guide. So in that goes. God help you, we've actually got the whole model made. You're pulling your hair out trying to do this. It sort of would have been a better job to do before the wings are on, but who knows. Anyhow, so that's in there. Now, if I've got this right, well, if I've got this left, port is left, that is port on the left, because even when you turn that over, left is still left. Okay, so port is there. So this one goes there, and you've got to has like a side with a little rib on it and a side without. Okay, so that goes to the front, and you go in at 45-degree angle, and you just sort of manhandle the thing in. Suppose if you've got everything glued in place, it's probably easier. I think that might be it. I don't know. Who knows? I'm slowly losing the will to live with this kit. I really am. So this will be the starboard one. So these are the two that you have to worry about because they are specific. All the other cylinder heads are generic. So again, just jam it in. Brute force and ignorance. And I've managed to, I've broken a, no, it's not doing much for our struts. I may have to re-glue and realign those. Alright, so those two in. Now, of course, the motor won't fall out. And we can theoretically work our way around and just pop all those guys in. Does anybody else build this kit? How did you get through that whole motor thing without losing your sanity? Yeah. A few bits sort of haven't sort of stuck. They're the flappy bits on the ailerons, right? They just kept falling off. They're supposed to, I don't know, I thought they're supposed to work, But I will glue them in when I decide what angle. And the same here, I'm going to probably decide what I want to do. That's just tacked together. I'll decide if I want to put a little bit of an angle on my my rudder, because often I like them posed. Anyhow, she's gluing again. The struts again are setting because they all got pushed out of shape. But it's essentially done. I did miss some struts. Yep, if you're building this kit and you know, or if you watch this, you go, hang on, Harry, you missed 2 struts. Yes, there's 2 sort of struts that go in here from the fuselage to the top of the wing. And yep, I haven't put those in. They'll go in very easily after the fact, so that's not a problem. I'm just getting to this point where we could sort of paint it and I can do things in bits and pieces and assemble it. That's what I'm hoping to do. And my pilot's in there and he's hanging upside down at the moment, so all the blood's rushing to his head. He's probably feeling as spaced out as I am. Look, I had such high hopes for this kit, and there's a lot of good stuff. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of good stuff about this kit. It is nicely engineered. The CAD's great, everything like that. It's got some clever things, some clever sprue points. Then it's got some god almighty stupid sprue points. It's got some very clear instructions. Then it's got some bloody vague instructions. There is a propensity in this kit where, well, in the instructions, where there's a vague join and then later on a precise join. And of course, the vague join being what it is, you've got no hope of knowing if you're ever going to make the precise join. That's bad engineering. That is bad forethought, and that is just bad Airfix. Goodness me. I mean, if they're 2 vagues, okay, you can kind of get away with it. They're 2 exacts, yes, click, click. But 1 vague and 1 exact, and in the order that the first one's vague. The other way around it would work. If the first one was exact and the second one's vague, you can kind of slide into place. Someone at Airfix needs to go. All right, that's it. This is built, as far as I'm concerned. Bugger it. All that's got to be done now is paint up the bits and assemble, and I'm going to do that down the track. It'll be a while. All right, buttons, if you can be bothered. Click some buttons. The algorithm likes it. Who cares? And look, there's a curry thing. Nobody seems to be buying me curries lately. Don't know why. It's probably because of this aeroplane. I swear I will get happier and more cheerful as I get back to my ships. Yeah. All right, that's it. It's goodbye from Australia, and it's hooroo from Ariadne.